Namaste, everybody. I want to introduce this amazing lady that I just recently came in contact with, and I'll let her introduce herself. What's your name?
So I'm Nancy Knudsen. I'm a functional medicine certified health coach.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that means, but we're going to find out.
Right, we'll talk about that.
I really do, but I'm just... So, I always start off these conversations, I call it the Stewart Community Connection, but how did we meet?
Yeah, so a mutual friend,
Yeah?
a really good friend of my husband and I, who he had gone on one of your retreats out in Kansas City. And I was talking to him out in my yard a couple weeks ago. His son was aerating for us.
I know.
And we were in COVID lockdown. You know, we weren't really supposed to be out there.
Right.
Well, I think it was okay that he was out there, but
Right.
we weren't supposed to be within 6 feet of each other. So we were keeping our distance, and we were talking about COVID, and he had said that he had someone who, you know, an older couple, and this man has been struggling with fever and the virus for several weeks, or actually a couple of months, I think, already, on and off.
Wow.
And I said, oh, hey, I got something for you. And so I ran in the house and I got one of my essential oil blends that is specifically for fever and for reducing viruses, and great for, you know, just supporting the immune system. So I went and I grabbed a couple of bottles and took them out, and I said, you know, this one's for you and this one's for whoever else you want to give this to.
Yeah.
And he called me, I think the next day, or texted me and said, hey, I just want you to know I really appreciate the oils, you love it. And I gave the second bottle to a good friend of mine, Carrie. Yeah. And you got to meet this guy, and I told him about you, and he wants to meet you, and so is it okay if I give him your number? And I was like, yeah, sure. So
yeah, I went to go visit him a couple weeks ago. It was probably right after you saw him, and he was like, oh, I got something for you. And I was thinking, what could Darren give me? Right? That's the first question. And he walks away from it and he comes back, and I'm like, of all things, he's got essential oil for me. It's like, you know, manly man, you know, and he's giving me the stuff. And I opened the bottle and I said, this is legit. Like I was overwhelmed. I was like the ingredients and the quality in the ingredients and everything that's in this is legit, because, you know, I've been using essential oils for a long time. So I knew right away that whoever created this, you know, which is you, knew what you were doing. This certain recipe really, really was soothing and very calming and very healing and everything. So I told him, I was like, yeah, I definitely need to connect with this lady. I need to know more about her, because when you can create something like that you definitely have a talent and a skill. So we'll talk about that a little bit more and dive into like your whole history of essential oils and how you did all that. But my other question for you is, what is something that you're grateful for today?
Yeah, so I would say first and foremost my faith.
Yeah.
And I always think, how can people get through what we're facing today, and just not even just what we're facing today, but what we as humans face all through eternity, right? I mean, the statistic is 1 in 1 dies, so we have that to face. But just having a faith that takes me forward and says, hey, this isn't it. Right. This life isn't all that there is. There's more. Right. And that gives me hope, and so I think that's my thing that I'm most grateful for, that, and my family, my people, my friends.
Especially during this time.
Yeah.
You know, I think during this time has been able, for me at least, and hopefully a lot of my friends and family, to realize what's truly important. Mm-hmm. Not only what's truly important, but who's truly important in your life. Mm-hmm. Who has made that impact in your life? Who has brought joy? Right? And what I've realized too is I've talked to a lot of people, and they've actually let go of a lot of toxic relationships during this time. And I think it makes it easier finally to release those people in your life that you may have been hanging on to, you know? So my question for you then, my next question is, who's been a positive influence or maybe a mentor in your life? And it doesn't have to be one person, it can be multiple people, but who has had the greatest impact in your life and in your journey?
Yeah, so not so much a mentor, but the person who's made the most impact, I would have to say my husband.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And why is that? Tell me a little bit about him, since I've never met him.
Yeah, so he and Darren are good friends. We met In our second year of college, so we were 18, 19.
Where'd you go to school?
So we both graduated from the University of South Dakota.
Okay.
Woohoo.
Is that where you guys are from originally?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
I'm from South Dakota. He's from Iowa. Like, he lived
Close.
like a half hour from there, and I lived 8 hours.
So-
although I was in the same state, and he was in a different state.
So tell me your home cities. Where are you from?
So I'm from Harriet, South Dakota, which
Okay.
is population of 400 people.
Wow. And then where's he from?
And then he's from Sioux City, Iowa.
Okay. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys met in college.
So we met in college. We're friends for a few years before
Right.
we started dating, and then got married pretty quickly. We moved to Colorado, and I moved here first, and he chased me out here, and then we ended up getting married pretty quickly. So we've been married 29 years.
When's your anniversary?
January 10th.
Oh, this year.
Yeah.
So my anniversary was Monday, and we've been married 29 years.
Oh wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, it's like most of my friends aren't even 30 yet, right?
Right? Yeah, so I was thinking about you when you said you had older kids too.
Three kids and 3 grandkids.
We have 3 kids and almost 3 grandkids, 2 and 1 on the way.
Wow, congratulations.
So very similar.
Yeah, it's ironic, right?
Yeah. So anyway, he has, I don't know, he's a great dad.
Right.
He's a great husband. I feel like he does everything for us. Sometimes I'm like, guys, we need to do some of these things on our own.
Right. He does it all.
We can't rely on him so much.
Right.
But he's just always there for us. He's just such a great
That's good.
provider, and he's my best friend.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
That's important. Yeah, I think that's been another kind of testament. Like, I know you don't know my whole story, but my wife and I sold everything a couple years ago, and we lived in that van that's parked out there for 6 months. And I asked her after a few months, I said, well, so what was like one of the things that you learned and you realized the most? And she goes, well, that we travel really well together. Because if there's, you've seen our 2 dogs and us 2 in that van for 6 months, right? Like, you really have to get along with somebody. And that's kind of the same testament right now of what's going on. That people in the relationships, like, you're really mostly stuck at home with this person all day, every day, and it kind of lets you know where your relationship status is and how things are going and where you can have some healthy boundaries. So,
it's interesting that you say that, and this is a little bit off topic, not totally about my work or what I do, but my husband and I are getting ready to start a marriage course, and we're going to do it online.
Really?
I mean, we're going to do this like face to face in a group, you know, where you meet like at a restaurant, and each couple, it's not in a group thing where you have to share.
Like therapy, like group therapy.
Yeah, no, it's not like that at all. It's more, you watch the video and then you discuss the questions as a couple.
Oh, I love that.
No one else is, listening in on you.
Right.
And we were getting ready to do that before all this COVID started.
Right.
And obviously now we can't. And now there's an online option. We're like, wow. And we're hearing that there's like thousands of couples signing up for this. So we're getting ready to launch that, and I'll pass that information to you when I
super cool.
get it all in order.
What has been like, I'm going to ask you this. What has been some of the challenges in your relationship over the 29 years? And what do you think has helped you kind of overcome a lot of those challenges?
Okay.
Unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, we've had just the things that everyone goes through, losing loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always hard times. We had hard things with our kids.
Yes, of course.
That I would say is probably the hardest thing.
Right.
And, not always being on the same page.
Yeah.
How to handle whatever it is that's going on. I don't want to get too, into details with that.
No, I understand.
But yeah, those are definitely the hardest challenge, is the kid stuff, because when it's just the 2 of you, there's not that much conflict. I mean, there's going to be little bits of conflict here and there, of course, but when kids come into play, and they have their own minds and things that they're going to do and things that they shouldn't do, and they do them anyway, and then you got to deal with it.
That's right. And help them out. Yeah, it's tough always, because you love and you care for them, but it's like, how can you really show them that you love them, and how can you get them on the right direction? Right?
Yeah.
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 Hey, girl. Hey. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now, and like, why are you doing it, and how did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah. So 15 years ago, I was really in a bad place with my health.
Right.
As my daughter would say, "Mom, you're a hot mess." Yes, I was a hot mess. And so, I mean, really, truly, I was having chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia,
right.
I had bone-on-bone discs in my back. I was told that I need sinus infection or sinus surgery, and I was told I should have back surgery, and I was just in a lot of pain. And of course, when you live in that state for a long time, it gets pretty depressing.
Right.
So, my parents, my mom had died when she was 47 of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and my dad was diagnosed when he was 35 with MS.
Okay.
And cancer when he was 50 and died pretty young as well. So I had a lot of things not good for my health, and I had kind of resolved to just the idea. I grew up on a farm. I love to cook, so it wasn't like I was eating terrible or treating my body terrible. I didn't drink or didn't have soda in the fridge, didn't eat fast food, all those kinds of things, and ate salads every day. But what I didn't realize is that when you eat gluten, which is almost impossible to digest, dairy, which is almost impossible to digest, sugar, which feeds bad bacteria in the gut, when you eat those things every day, it doesn't matter how much broccoli and how much salad you eat, you cannot combat those other, inflammatory foods that you're putting in. So about 11 years ago, my kids were also starting to show a lot of those same issues, and I looked at my family history, my parents, and then what I was going through, and it broke my heart to think, like, am I gonna pass this on to my kids? And I just began praying and asking, like, God, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way out of this. And so I really started seeking and searching, and my kids were really sick at that time. They ended up taking the gallbladders out of my then 17-year-old and my 9-year-old.
That's so young.
It was so young, and I know that I even knew then, I was like, this is not the right answer, but I couldn't figure it out. I'd gone to the pediatrician and said, I think maybe she's celiac. Okay, right? This is 11 years ago. There's not a whole lot of information about gluten at that time. So he said, well, we'll run a test. We ran a test, and he said, no, she's not celiac. So I was like, well, there goes that idea. And so I was just kind of picking at and trying to figure all this out, and they were getting worse and worse. And finally, I had a doctor who helped us figure out. He was actually a chiropractor. He did muscle testing, and he'd have my daughter hold the vial of gluten or dairy or whatever it was, and her little arm would just, go weak. I don't know if you know what muscle testing is, but
I do, but they may not.
Yeah,
so go ahead. Yeah, explain to them what.
Basically, it's just a challenge. It's you hold whatever it is that you think might be causing an issue, and then the person will hold their arm out, and you hold that vial, and there just creates a weakness in the body. So to me, it was just such a picture of, oh my gosh, this is it. These are the things. And I went home that day and just had trash bags of stuff that I threw out of my pantry.
So drastic. You're like, I'm done.
I was, and I think I don't really recommend that for people. I do like it when people move fairly quickly, because I think you can get really good results that way. But it was too drastic, and part of it was the doctor that I was, consulting with. He was pretty
intense.
rigid and intense, and so I think I learned a lot through that. How to not be quite so rigid and intense. But I did. I went home and I just cleaned out, and within 2 weeks, man, we were in such a different place. It was amazing.
This was here in Colorado.
Amazing. This was in Colorado, Highlands Ranch.
So what foods, I'm going to ask you to divert just a second, what foods would you tell people to avoid then? Gluten, sugar, refined sugars,
Those
and...
would be the two big ones. Especially dairy that's not cultured. Typically people are having an issue with dairy, like completely with dairy. I do some of my essential oil blends that are really good for helping get the gut in a better place, so that hopefully we can add in high quality dairy. So that being not milk, not cream, but cultured dairy. So things like yogurt, kefir, raw cheese you can get in the grocery store. So things that are actually probiotic and are a lot easier and will help to feed the microbiome.
Right.
So
what is your opinion on raw dairy, raw milk?
Raw milk. I think milk is just still really.
No matter what?
Traditional cultures around the world never really drank milk.
Right.
Milk is great if you're a baby calf, but not so great for human consumption. But traditional cultures did do cultured dairy.
Right.
And I always look at what traditional cultures did. You know, if it worked for 3,000 years, like those are the things that I want to look at for my health and consider.
I did that when I was in the military because, you know, I traveled to Greece and Saudi and England and South Korea and all over, and I noticed that, like, you go to other countries and the way they eat and the foods they consume are completely, totally different. A lot of times there's not a lot of meat and there's not a lot of dairy, and I begin to realize that, you know, these people are healthy, right? And they don't have a high, you know, all the high things that we have in America, right? Obesity and cancer and everything. Like, a lot of those countries, you know, years ago didn't have any of that. Now that they've changed their diet and fast food, now they're having those problems. So.
Yeah, and so the other answer to your question, what the things that I tell people to avoid: genetically modified foods, processed, you know, stuff that preservatives, those kinds of things. Eating more of a real whole food, focusing more on the produce.
Hang on.
I'll just keep going. Focusing more on produce, you know, good, clean, whole foods.
Right.
Clean proteins, whether it's animal protein. If you eat animal protein, I'm certainly not against that. Chicken, fish. I always tell people we need to eat more fish, wild caught, clean, small cold water fish. The big ones are going to be high in mercury, so the small ones are what you want to.
So the stuff I catch in the front yard out here.
Yeah, as long as the water is clean source, I think it should be. Yeah, so your fresh cold water fish. Fish has so much of what we're deficient in, and most people don't eat a lot of fish. And then plant-based protein. Right. You know, quinoa, wild rice.
Yes.
Those are the ones that are naturally the complete protein sources.
So that kind of started the journey. Your daughters were really ill. You were kind of ill. That saw your history, like, if I continue on this path, I'm going to probably end up like my parents or something, some kind of combination like that. And now you're seeing this with your young kids, right? And so this was kind of heart-wrenching. It's like, I've got to make this drastic move. So you throw all this food out, you start changing your diet, you saw differences in like 2 weeks. And then how did we get to where we're at today through this journey and this path?
So what an inspiration for that. I mean, like, I was like, well, I have a life. Before, my husband would ask me, like, what do you want to do when the kids are, you know, all in school? And I'd be like, man, I'm tired. Like, do you see me? I'm taking a nap for like 3 hours every day. I get the kids, you know, off to school, and then I'm exhausted. So it just gave me a whole new life, like
inspiration, excitement.
What am I? And I knew that I wanted to make an impact for people. I don't want people to have their parents die when they're 47 of a heart attack, and I'm now 50, so I've passed that mark. I just want people to have hope. I want people to know that, okay, so in functional medicine we look at so many doctors will say that 97% or 95% of our health outcomes have to do with our genetics. Or sorry, not our genetics. The 3% is about our genetics. The 97 is about our diet and lifestyle. So we have 97% impact for our outcome for our health.
I call it environmental because it's a lot of that has to play with a role of what we're putting in our body, right? How we're portraying that. And I say that mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because it's not, a lot of it is the food that we eat, but a lot of it is your environment that you're around. And your environment plays a role on the kind of food that you eat. So you're raised on a farm, so most of the people I know from Iowa, which I know, you know, you're right over the border or whatever, but, you know, they are wholesome, ethical people. Like, I've never met anybody from Iowa that I didn't believe had a great work ethic and was really kind of just, you know, strong and courageous. But also they're just a different type of person. They'll look you in the eye, they'll have a conversation with you, right? those people are raised different, right? And so I think like people that are raised in the city, a lot of times they don't even, like, think about New York. There's people in New York that have never driven a car and that will never drive a car, you know? So the environment, I know, plays a role in that. So think about, like, I guess on our food aspect, it's probably a little bit different here than it is in other areas. If we could give people some kind of hope or anything of what they could do with their menus and things like that, what are some of the possibilities? Like, if I'm in a big city or maybe I'm in a remote area, what is your suggestion for things like that? I know you do like menus and recipes and stuff, right?
I do. Yeah, I would love for you all check out my event page on newdaywholehealth.com. I'm doing a once a week cooking demo, and it's short and sweet, 40 minutes, just quick cooking demo, and then discussion topic. So this week we're talking about decreasing your toxin load.
Really?
Yeah.
So is this like, tell me how this is set up. Is this like on the Zoom thing?
Yep.
Okay, so we just get on Zoom, and we can find you, and you're going to give us like different things every week. Is this like through the summer, or how long are you going to do this?
You know, so I've done cooking classes in my house for years and love it. And so my cooking classes were really taking off. I can fit about 16 to 18 people, and they were going on a wait list.
Wow.
Starting this year. And I was like, wow, this is my
That's
year.
Exciting.
2020 is my year. Right. It's going to be amazing. And then COVID hit. And then it's like, wow, no cooking. Like, that's not happening. Okay, so now what am I going to do? And then my daughter, lost her job, and people were asking, well, can we do this online? Can we do this talk online? I was like, yeah, no, I don't know technology so good. We're not best friends. And so, I don't know, just a couple weeks went by, and I'm like, okay, let's, Allie, help me with this. So I had my daughter set up the Zoom, and it's worked. And they're filling up. I had 24 people sign up last week.
Really?
And yeah.
So you just take your computer, your camera, you go in the kitchen and everything. So will they be able to ask questions, I guess, before or after?
Yeah,
this?
so I'm always right there at the beginning. If people want to ask questions, we're usually, just saying, hi, how you doing? And then I go into the cooking demo. I do ask everyone just to mute for that time, and then open it up.
Do you charge for this?
No.
This is free.
This is free.
Oh my gosh, I love you.
Yeah, and it's so fun. I love what I do. I love what I do, and that's, to me, I'm making an impact on people. And, I think, too, there's always that opportunity. I have my practice as well, and so people are seeing me face-to-face on that video and getting an opportunity to just, build that trust and, see who I am, and I'm gaining a client here and there. And so, if I didn't, that'd be fine too.
What are some of the menus or recipes or things you've done over the last few weeks?
So we made Belgian water zooey soup a couple weeks ago.
Okay, what is that?
So yummy. So I do a bone broth soup. Do you know how to do bone broth?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
I had to do the Candida Diet, so I'm kind of relating to you. My son got to the point where he was had brain fog and he couldn't leave the house. Yeah. And so my wife wanted to do all these testing and all this stuff, and I said, it's environmental. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, it's something he's eating, something he's consuming. So we put him on the Candida Diet, same kind of thing. Within 10 days, he was out walking, doing yoga, doing all these things, and he was like back to normal. So I know all about, I call the Candida one the witch's brew, though, because my wife puts like chicken feet in there and all this stuff, but then she just drains all that out, and all you get is a liquid. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's the good stuff, is the broth. Well, I use a whole chicken.
Okay.
So, and I teach this, in this class. Like, you take your, chicken, you rinse it off, you take the bag out with all the, the heart and all that stuff, and you can throw that away if you want, but I really recommend you give it to your dogs if nothing else. Like,
they love
that's
it.
Good stuff.
Right.
And that's the most nutritious part, and there's so many nutrients in the liver and all those things.
So the ingredients or the recipe is all that? Do you offer that as well? So like afterwards or before?
Yeah, typically I do have a recipe page on my website. Okay. And all my recipes are usually on there. Like that one I didn't have on there, so I just emailed it out to my group. So when you RSVP for the group, when you go on my website and you want to join one of my cooking demos, make sure you RSVP. Don't just get the link and jump on, make sure you RSVP.
Okay.
Because by RSVPing, you will then get the emails from me with
super excited
recipes. But a lot of my recipes are on my website on the resource page.
Okay.
So just go to the resource page and look for the print recipe file, and that's a lot of where I work off of.
Your website will be in the description, but what is your website, just in case somebody's like...
Yeah, it's newdaywholehealth.com.
Okay. All right. We'll make sure we put that. So tell me, that's been a really, really, I guess, an amazing journey, an amazing transformation, like within your kids. Mm-hmm. The story kind of reminds me of one that I always get a kick out of. I was coming back from DC one time, and I sat down to a lady, and she kind of reminds me of you, and we sit down, and she's like, no, it's not going to kill you. No, you're going to be fine. I promise you're going to be. And I'm like, what kind of conversation is she having? And she's like, I promise it's not going to kill you. You're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. And so she's like, and her daughter's like crying, and so she gets off the phone and she starts snickering. And I'm like, what's going on? She goes, well, my daughter's at a sleepover for a birthday party, and they took her to McDonald's, and I've been telling her whole life that McDonald's kills you. So she's actually literally like having a nervous breakdown at McDonald's right now, thinking she's gonna die and that she's gonna eat this and it's gonna kill her. And so I just laugh at those kinds of stories, because it's funny, because McDonald's, a lot of people, Dharma and Mitra will tell you, McDonald's kills you, right? So it's that type of food. But so I guess like now you've made that change. How's that long term? How do you feel like that's affected your family? Taking all those things out of, all those toxins, all the sugar, everything else out of their life. How has that been for your girls and your family and your husband and everybody?
Yeah, it was obviously a very hard
right.
journey. And I think we've come to a place where there's more balance, which
right.
is important. For my husband, because he works away from home in an office,
okay.
he would do whatever, for lunch. Yes. But still, he always makes pretty good choices.
Right.
The gluten piece, not knowing that piece.
Right.
Not knowing that was a bad choice. So when we first started making these changes, he was still doing his own thing
right.
for lunch, but then eating at home. And then after a while, he thought, well, maybe I should try this
right.
without telling me. So he went off of gluten and pretty quickly realized that he just, we feel like we have our energy, our overall feeling of well-being is here,
right.
and then we clean up, and we're up here, right?
Yeah.
So he just quickly realized that he just had more energy, he was feeling better,
sleeping better,
thinking better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all those things.
People don't realize, I think, how serious it is what you consume and what you put in your body, how it really does affect your mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. And a lot of times when we're struggling, and the thing is, and I'll say this all the time, but when we're in balance, we tend to gravitate towards those things that keep us in balance. When we get out of balance, we gravitate towards those things that keep us out of balance. So you think about like sugar or alcohol or sex or whatever that thing is, and we just keep grabbing it more and more, and we're further and further away from what we should be. But once we get into that balance and we find it, then we're like, let me try this, and this has done really well for me, or let me try this. Okay. So I guess my question then is there anything else you want to talk about food or diet or any of that other, before we start talking about these amazing essential oils that you create?
Well, when you asked about my family, I will say too, like for kids, my kids were fairly, my youngest was 9. I could control it then, and I did, and we got better, but then they went off into high school and college,
and then that's all.
And it's hard because it's not what everyone else is doing. And I will say there's more and more, I think that young people are realizing a lot of these things.
Right.
So they have some friends that are kind of on the same track, but they have to make their own choices.
They do.
And that's a struggle for a lot of parents. And as I work one-on-one with clients, and they're dealing with the same struggle, and I always say, you know what, work on you.
Right.
Don't worry about, do whatever influence you can, but you can't control it. If they're older. If they're younger, control it.
Right.
Because if they're in a bad place, you need to get them in a better place. But when they get older, man, they gotta choose it. And for my kids, they know, like if they're not eating well, they know.
Yeah.
My youngest, she's working to be an esthetician.
Oh,
and she knows, like, when she doesn't eat well, the skin doesn't
and the
look as
blemishes.
great.
Yeah. I was really glad my son went through that at a young age, because now, he was consuming a lot of sugar and a lot of alcohol, and so I think his alcohol consumption now is probably like once a month, probably on average.
Yeah.
And he's still young. But like, I think the sugar that he probably gets occasionally is like from out of the wheat or the bread or whatever, the gluten that he's getting. But like it's like before, like, it was desserts and sugar and stuff, but he doesn't even consume that because he now begins to realize the effect of how he feels of consuming that food or whatever it may be, really the impact on his life. So I wish, like, I was that aware. Like, I felt like in my 20s I always tried to eat healthier, and I felt like I ate a lot better than other people, but a lot of it was things that I didn't consume of. So like in my my 20s and 30s, I didn't consume hardly any alcohol, and I didn't eat like a lot of junk food and a lot of fast food and things like that, only when we traveled. So I felt like I was doing certain things right, but I just really didn't have the knowledge and the greater understanding. I think America's finally getting to that point.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of more hurdles, right, to change and overcome, but I think we're doing a lot better as a society. We just need to take that next level and really empower people. And I think your classes are really is an ability to empower people, to give them the resource that they need. Like, hey, here's some options of what we can do. I mean, what else do you do for people, like with food related, or tell me your services. You tell us the label at the beginning. What does all that actually mean? Right?
So, functional medicine certified health coach.
Yeah, what is that? Who are you?
So I studied with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
Yeah.
It's a 1.5 years online. It's supposedly the world's largest nutritional school, and it was a great program.
Right.
Learned a lot, and they give us a lot of tools. I brought with my resource binder. Whoop. And so this is the resource binder that I give to all of my clients who do a package with me.
Wow.
And so a lot of questionnaires. This one is actually from the Institute for Functional Medicine, where I ended up studying after I studied with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. This is our timeline, and this is what we recommend, and the Institute for Functional Medicine recommends that we use with every client that comes in, just mapping out, like, when did you feel your best? What happened when things went downhill? What are your concerns? So this is just a way of mapping out and writing down information. What does your diet look like? I kind of use this space to write out, what the diet looks like, and then I refer back to this. I typically do a 6-session package with people, so we make 6 times. I encourage people to jump in on the free online, discussion as well, because you're going to learn a lot there. But I feel like in 6 times that we meet, I should be able to teach you pretty much everything that I want you to know about nutrition.
Really?
And a lot of it isn't. I mean, not that you don't keep learning little bits.
Course.
The core of and helping you also during those 6 sessions, helping you identify, like, what your symptoms are and what kind of nutrients you might be deficient in, and
so can you do this virtually? Like, if somebody's watching this and they're anywhere and they're like, I would love to get more knowledge. Okay.
And I've always had clients. I have clients all over the United States. So just different top resources from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. This is a great tool to help people look at, like, where am I out of balance with my life. And then medical symptoms questionnaire. I love this questionnaire because I'll have people fill this out the first time we meet, and typically they'll have a score of 50 or 75 or 100, just depending on how many symptoms they have going on and how they score it. And then as we meet over the course of those 6 sessions, and as time goes by and they're cleaning up their diet, that number goes down, and it's really cool to see and go back. I'll have them redo that after we've met for a few months.
This one's important. I know you guys can't see it, but it says sleep at least 7 hours per night. So this is a big one for me, because I'm always talking about how do you get good sleep, and how do you go through that process, and what does that take, and then talk about all that in self-care. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So anyway, this is my resource binder. I've got a whole section here of resources. Oh, this is my Eat to Live lifestyle challenge. You can find this on my website also, newdaywholehealth.com. On the resource page, you can print and download this document.
So it'll tell them all the foods they need to eliminate in here.
Yeah. Your red inflammatory foods, they're on the top. Things to be careful of when you're trying to heal your gut. And then the green section, really, your good whole foods, clean proteins that you want to focus on. And then some things down here on the bottom to be mindful of, things like, what kind of water are you drinking?
Right.
Are you using an air purifier? That can be a big thing, especially for people that have asthma.
I don't know this lady, but she even says no reverse osmosis. So things like this, I even love her even more, right?
Yep.
You're drinking well water here. I mean, I had it tested, but it's just a filter to get debris out, and that's it.
Yeah. So. Good. Yeah, you don't want to take all the minerals out.
None of that.
Grocery lists, snack ideas, lunch ideas, just lots and lots of really great information in here. I have a little chart for acupressure. I can show people points to do on their own. If that's something that they want to do. I do acupressure in my office as well, if that's something that people want.
So what's acupuncture and acupressure? What's the difference?
So acupressure is basically just the same premise as acupuncture, which uses needles. I don't use needles.
Just like your fingers?
So yeah, it's just tapping certain points.
Like so the Indian,
meridian points.
Like the native meridian points is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's awesome. All right, so anything else you want to discuss about that before we talk about these amazing oils that you create?
No, I don't think so. Let's go on to, let's talk about oils.
So I think my oil's over there somewhere, but I opened up this bottle and I smelt it and I just got so excited. And I'm sitting there with Darren and I'm like, who is this lady? Like, what is this? So, I've been exposed to a lot of different brands and a lot of different types of oils. So what is it you're doing, and how is it you've come up with these recipes? Like, you're this amazing chemist. Like, what's going on here?
I do believe it's an art, and I believe so. I've used essential oils for 20 plus years with my kids, not near to the degree that I do now. I always had oregano that I would use for sinus infections, tea tree for different things. So I had a few select things that I used over the years. And then about 8 years ago, I started, incorporating more and more, and I started using them with my clients. And, I just have like plain little bottles, and I'd tape a label over the top of the bottle, not the really nice, very professional.
Doesn't look professional, like somebody actually did this. It's
like,
Grandma made you this recipe here.
Yeah.
This, skunk oil or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I talked a little bit about my faith earlier, and I was reading a passage in the Old Testament, and God had told Moses, take this, and this, and this, and mix them in a vat and make a fragrant blend, the work of a perfumer. Yeah. And that was what inspired that blend. And it was really kind of the first blend that I made that I was starting to give to my client. And I didn't even really know what it was for at that point. I just knew it smelled really good. So it has myrrh, it has cinnamon, lemongrass, and those are the ones that in that passage it talks about. But then I added my own, like I wanted it to be my own thing, and so I added like all the ones that Scripture talks about that I feel are really medicinal. So frankincense, myrrh, turmeric, which is believed to be the gold. Turmeric, even the essential oil, is a very golden color. And so
that's why
your glass turned gold.
Because I drink turmeric all day, every day.
So anti-inflammatory.
I'm like, that's my balance. That's my positive addiction is turmeric. It's like in everything. So.
Well, and if you work with essential oils, that a lot of them don't smell good. Like they smell very medicinal, not so good. But so that's the art of it, I think, is to make it a fragrant blend. And it took me years to.
So you've been doing this for about 10 years?
No, I would say with the oil piece, I've been doing for probably 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
I've added, I added I hope to be my last blend. I added about a year ago, and that was came out of the whole CBD craze.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I have this blend I called CBE. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And so this is Cobea Balsam Essential Oil.
Gotcha.
So that's the CBE. My own little twist. If you see CBE anywhere else, you'll know that they stole it from me.
Yeah, you were the first.
Because I made it up. But really, truly, Cobea Balsam is an amazing oil. And the other oil that's in this blend is Hilcrisham, which you may know Hilcrisham. It's a more common one. Very expensive oil, Hilcrisham is. Both of those two oils are really known for creating homeostasis in the body. And Cobea Balsam has been shown in studies to be a stronger binder to CB2 receptors than CBD.
Gotcha. Really?
So
that's important.
That was really what inspired me. And honestly, these two oils that are in this blend in a stronger mix, but I have these almost in every blend that I do, just because I followed a vet, right? An animal doctor.
Not a veteran, but a veterinarian.
A veterinarian. Several years ago, this is probably 7 years ago also, and he used those, and he said too, like they're notable for being in pretty much every, like they're good for any condition, is what he was saying. And at first I didn't believe it, and I kind of felt like certain blends you should have like separated out, and have different blends, and they should be totally different. Was kind of my thought. But as I've used them year after year after year, I'm like, you know what? He's right.
Staple. Yeah.
He's right. Those two should be. And I do use this one in certain cases. People that have like inflammatory bowel, blood in the stool, those kinds of things. This is really great because it's a very simple blend. It's not as strong smelling. And people who have a lot of sensitivities, I guess sometimes I'll use that. But typically I do other things like my Eater's Digest or my Warrior Strong that have those two, the Cobea Balsam and the Hilcrisham in there. But yeah, so
now do you sell these online as well? How do people?
These are on my online store.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on your website, they can find out all the information about these amazing blends. Yeah. I wish you could smell them. That's
That's the kicker.
That's the thing. Is like once you smell them, you're like I've said, I have smelled a lot of different blends of oils and customs, and this lady is actually so phenomenal, like the best.
Thank you.
That's what triggered all of it, because I'm like, wow, I've got to meet the person behind this. Right? And so then at that point I had no idea like all the other things that you do and you offer. So
what do I want to there's something that I wanted to say. There is I don't see a lot of companies doing what I do.
Right.
So I blend for topical use. A lot of companies are doing just straight blends for diffusing.
Right.
And then people buy all these oil and they don't know what to do with them.
Right.
And really the best medicinal way to use essential oils is to use them topically.
Yeah.
And that's what my blends are. They're made for topical use.
Okay.
So I do see one other company. It's actually a local company. Can I say the name or no?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So it's Knudsen Oil Company.
Yeah.
Hope I don't get in trouble with anybody for you'll see them out at DIA. They always have a booth out there. Farmers markets here in Colorado.
Have you been to their
a lot.
Tasman's yoga studio over here?
No. I wonder, it must probably be related.
It has to be. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's one of the most beautiful spaces I've ever been to. It's in Conifer.
Yep. And that's where the company is, out of Conifer.
Yeah. So so anybody that's local and you come visit me, you can just keep going a little bit further over there to Conifer. It's beautiful. It's very inviting.
Awesome. Well, and the part that I was going to say is, and I think that company's been around for a long time, and so they're probably doing more mass, whereas mine is handcrafted, small. I'm doing this, out of my home, and so I don't have the overhead, but my prices are like half the price of the same, for the same amount. And two, I think I see that they only just have a couple of the topical use for medicinal purposes. So each of so I have a whole line. How many do I have? I'm going to say like 16 different ones, and they're very specific. Like I have 3 different digestive blends.
Okay.
One is, so my Eater's Digest this is typically where I start people unless they're having a lot of diarrhea. It's great for detoxification, great for, cleansing helping to support liver health and thinning the bile and colon cleansing and all of that kind of stuff. It's very detoxifying, but it's not super overpowering either, because the idea behind it is you use it every day for 2 to 3 months. So it's not like you're doing this intense, like it's going to give you diarrhea. Like we don't want things to move too quickly. And so this is typically where I start everyone.
Gotcha.
With my Eater's Digest. And then my Warrior Strong blend is more of an antimicrobial. So this is like bitter herbs. Do you know?
Yeah.
What bitter herbs people
Go ahead and explain that to them.
Or maybe you should. What are bitter herbs?
So I'm going to say that they're more of, I wouldn't say sour, but they're going to be more of like a pungent kind of like, what's the word besides pungent that I'm trying to think of?
Bitter.
Maybe. So like if you think sweet and sour, they're going to be more of like the sour, but they're not really sour, but they're like earthy.
Yeah.
I would say they're more earthy. Like if you're just going to go grab something out of the earth and eat it, that's, I know. I'm
getting a pedicure down.
We got dogs everywhere, but that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
that would be my best way to describe a bitter.
Yeah, type. And a lot of traditional cultures will take bitter herbs after their meals to help them digest the food, and Americans just aren't used to that flavor.
No,
we don't.
The problem I'm gonna say with America is we put sugar in everything that's in a bag or a box, and so that's why I tell people try to not buy food. Right? That's already, make your own pasta sauce, make your own everything, because then you're not having to add that sugar. You're buying a product that has so much sugar in it already. And so that's the problem, is we're consuming sugar to make everything sweet. Right?
Whole Foods Market has a great pasta sauce that
no sugar.
It's organic and there's no sugar in it. And they're usually like $7 for those. Theirs is $2.99.
Yeah, which is actually affordable.
So So anyway,
I like to talk about food, but I like oils too. So I like all of the different things.
So back to the oils.
Right.
Okay, so bitter herbs are just, they stimulate digestion, and we need that, and we don't do that. So that's what this is. More about bitter herbs increasing digestion. A lot of people take enzymes. So those are made in a lab. Right? It's not really, it's important if you're not digesting well. It can be a good piece, but this is way better because it's just natural, and it's way more affordable than taking a pill. This bottle will last 6 months. 1 pump on the bottom of your feet every day. There's about 200 pumps in a bottle, so super affordable. So that is more about bitter herbs. This one is about my Warrior Strong, which I love that connection of your warrior. So my Warrior Strong blend is antimicrobial, antifungal. It's Ravensara, tea tree, eucalyptus. What else? Hyssop.
Yes.
You know hyssop?
Yep.
That's another one that I love. Just a lot of them are pulled out of scripture, and there's verses that talk about cleanse me with hyssop and I will be clean. So hyssop is a very great antibacterial, and a lot of what we have going on in the gut, it's undigested stuff. And we need to break that up and move that out. I have a little chart in here. I'd love to share that. If we have time, we can go there. If not, you could watch it on my YouTube videos on my website.
We'll include that description too. We'll include your YouTube channel.
Okay, cool. It's actually IGTV. Instagram TV is what I'm doing, but maybe we'll change that. So anyway, this one is more about killing off that bad bacteria. So that's what makes us crave the sugar. Is that bad bacteria, and that is, I just feel like these are so helpful when people are trying to get a grip on and change what they're doing, because when the gut is down, we have that overgrowth of bad bacteria. We need to break that up and move it out, and just by changing diet, you can do that, but it's a really super slow process if you're not doing botanicals that are gonna
help support it. And to kind of expedite the process.
Exactly. So, and then I've got several moods. So I've got my digestive blends. I've got a tummy tamer blend for people that are having more of the, diarrhea, those kinds of issues. Sorry if that's too much information.
No.
My Easy Digest is more of a long term. This is short term, 2 to 3 months to clean up, and then Easy Digest is a good long term. I use that one every single day, like all the time. It just, when I don't, I just feel like my digestion is way more sluggish. And then I've got, my cleanse blends, which was the one that you got, the Anointed, which is great for combating viruses, fever, those kinds of things. Like the Warrior Strong is in that line. And then I've got mood supportive blends. So my Peace and Joy has orange, bergamot.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, so it smells so nice, so uplifting. Bergamot has been shown in studies to be more effective than antidepressants for lifting mood.
Yeah.
So I can't live without that one.
I'd say that in nature.
Exactly. To us, that doesn't really mean a whole lot because we know that
antidepressants. What is
prescription medications aren't the answer.
Well, I think I want to say they're up like 400% from like 20 years ago. Oh yeah. It's insane. It's insane the amount of antidepressants. This is in America that consume, and the number was so outlandish that I had to like rewind what I was playing. I was like, because I was like, it's really that high. So from the last 20 years, it's up like 400% or something insane.
Well, and the thing about antidepressants, the serotonin uptake inhibitors, basically what they do is they sever the pathways in the brain to let the serotonin leave the brain. So the serotonin is trapped in the brain. So you do feel better. They make you feel better short term.
But long term.
But then as time goes on, a year or two, your body's not making that serotonin. And another thing I always like to tell people is your hormones feed off of good bacteria in the gut.
That's true.
And so if your gut is not healthy, if your microbiome isn't full of good bacteria, then you're going to be starving your brain of the dopamine, the epinephrine, the serotonin, all those things that it needs to be happy and healthy.
I think it's 90% of your serotonin's made in the gut. It's something really high like that too. Yeah. So you have most of that is made from your stomach.
It's all about what we eat. Not all about what we eat, but so much of it is about what we eat and our thoughts that we think and
how we feel.
Our lifestyle.
Yeah, and all that plays a role. It's finding a balance and everything. Yeah. All right, so what else do you have over here? Do you want to share anything else?
I think you can go on there and look at them. I've got a few different hormone blends. One that from Dr. Axe. So I studied with. I should point this out too. I actually went through Dr. Axe. I don't know if you know, he's one of the functional medical doctors that I follow, but he's very into essential oils, and he has the Essential Oil Institute. And so I went through that several years ago, which I already felt like I knew a lot, and I'd already put a lot of my blends together, but it's good to always have a little bit more information and that certification, because it's just good to have. So I've got a couple of different, the hormone blend I was going to say. One that's really good for thyroid support. That is his recipe. Again, I added mycobea balsam to it because it's so anti-inflammatory. And I can't ever leave a recipe just the way it is. I always have to
add your own. Yeah, you got to customize it, make it your own
twist. So I've got the hormone ones on there and the mood supportive ones, and then I've got a couple for pain. I've got one called Muscle Up. You'd probably love that one.
Yeah, I'm sure I would.
People who work out, it's a great pain relieving one. Smells really good. A Rescue Me one that's more like for headaches, allergies, those kinds of things. Yeah, you can check them all out.
Definitely.
I've got two on. Let's see. I usually have a little card that I give people, and I always stick it in when people place an order online. But it's basically, it looks nicer when it's on the card.
Leave her alone.
It's a smaller cardstock thing, but it's just
like what Darren had.
Yeah. Oh, he had it. Did he give it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all my different blends.
Yeah.
And I don't want to add any more because they're very versatile. I feel like what I've done, like there doesn't need to be any more blends. because like the Calm Blend, that's great for sleep and anxiety. It's also great for like skin irritations. So they're very versatile.
Awesome.
And on this side it tells you what they're all good for.
Yeah, I love it. I love all of it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share? Anything from that we did discuss?
I think the only other thing is just I would love to be a support to people. Come and check out our online once a week cooking demo. 40 minutes, short and sweet. I would love to see so many people jump in on that, and I just think it's a great time to
definitely,
like a platform that I would have never thought of using on my own had I not been forced to.
So basically,
it's
if
a
you
great way.
have questions about diet or recipes or essential oils, you can reach out to Nancy.
Yeah, you can go on there, and also on my website you can click on the Take Action Now if you want to do a one-on-one consult. I have a $55 initial 1-hour consultation special that I'm running if you have things that you want to work on one-on-one. So those group classes are great for getting lots of good free information, and sometimes people have more that they need to work on one-on-one. So I'm here for that as well.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming out and joining me today. I'm so excited to meet and connect with you. I'm excited to see your connection with the future and the community and how you just continue to impact people. One of the things that I love is that you've realized like your gifts and your talents, and you're sharing that with the community. That's what's so vital, and so important. And the good thing is the format that you use, it can be anybody, anywhere.
Yeah.
They don't have to be a resident of this city and go see you. They can be anywhere in the world and connect with you. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.